This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Friday, December 9th, 2022, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's show, I will talk with Michael Dykes. He is president and CEO of the International Dairy Foods Association about the farm labor workforce shortage. And as always, we will have a check of the ag weather outlook. But first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined by Jacob Burks of agmarket.net to discuss the end of the trading day. Jacob, what did we see on the grain markets today? We know we had a WASDE report. Was there anything in there that shocked you, anything to take away from that report, or was it kind of what you expected?
Oh, the December report gets a lot of publicity about being nothing to publicize, right? So it's something that we assume that there's going to be a wait till we see the final production numbers domestically, and that's the focus of what most of our grain trade is here. There's been a lot of talk and discussion, and maybe it's just because we have the easier access to information now that we hear a lot more about South American weather situation. There's been a lot of talk about the Argentine drought that we have, been expecting to see, potential exports of soybean meal out of the United States due to their drought. You've seen, a lot of different, talks about the EU and everything. So there's adjustments all over the global numbers, but really what the USDA did was just said, hey, we're going to wait till the January report to take a bit closer look at the Argentine corn and soybeans, Brazil corn and soybeans. And, you can make a pretty good argument on that, from a broad spectrum that what they should probably and will end up probably lowering the Argentina crop, probably going to be increasing probably more than what we're taking away from Argentina, increasing on the Brazil side. So all in all, the market came out. The numbers were not that exciting. We can go through some of the specifics, but and really you saw the front months of the corn slightly higher. You saw the back months a little bit lower. So you saw the bean market that was up yesterday in the fronts and down in the back months, kind of reversed that spread a little bit. So, this is the December trade where it's just a lot of spread trading, a lot of just funds kind of swapping back and forth. Where we took a pretty good hit was in the wheat market. Chicago wheat continuing to sell off here. We're down 10 to 12 cents in Chicago, down 10 to 12 cents in Kansas City. Minneapolis wheat, spring wheat was down about 8 as well. So, the one thing that did not disappoint today was the continuation of guys backing out of the bean oil spread in the soybeans, and soybean oil down, bean meal up another $5 again here today. You're getting into some of that longer term resistance level, but a huge move up in the bean market in the last 6-7 days, and that didn't fail us again.
Jacob, it wasn't too long ago that the value of the U.S. dollar was really affecting markets because the U.S. dollar was valued so high, and then we saw that dip a little bit. Where are we at right now with the value of the dollar and how it's affecting the markets?
Well, I mean, anytime you start looking at exports, right now we're not exporting a whole lot of corn. So that was the focus of, they took 75 million bushels away from the U.S. exports. So that's one of the reasons maybe that we were lower on sales. There's many different factors in there that goes into that. But the dollar's trading around $1.05. If you go back and look, I mean, we're lower or on the lows that we held back in August. So we've seen a big move up, run up to $1.14. Obviously, whenever our dollar is that high, it makes foreign currencies harder for them to come in and purchase our products. It makes it easier for us to go and purchase theirs. But when down in that $1.05 range, that's where everybody kind of thought that we would, find some stability, and that's what we're doing. I don't think that has as big of an effect on the exports right now. It's more so of just supply and demand and logistics. Even the reason why our corn exports have been a lot lower.
And what was the story today on the livestock side of the markets?
The very strong day in the cattle market. I mean, we've seen cattle, go back up to the highs that we put in, a couple of days last week. We saw that big move up and then all of a sudden just fall out of bed. But your February live cattle are up around the $1.55 level, getting up another $1.60 today. Really, really quiet in the feeder cattle today. We're still trading at a very high level. If you look at January, we're up around 184 still. So from this recovery that we've had from October, we are still in a upward trend. We made new highs today, probably the highest close that we've seen on this move as well. So, a strong cattle market. Hog market, I think, has a very tough go at it here. You're not getting a lot of good reports, from the export news. We had negative exports, which a lot of that's going over to next year now. But, the Chinese hog herd, you're hearing a lot of growth over there, and the COVID release, the release of some of the restrictions that we're seeing is continued to talk about, but it hasn't been there. So you're seeing this hog herd build, and we're just not exporting, pork like we should. That's a negative news whenever their value of their hogs are going down, and that's our main export outlet. So they are today, a little bit of mix. You're still seeing some bear spread, which is not very positive for the long term of the market. But February was down about 70 cents, 84 even. And then we saw the back months, a little bit of recovery out into the June timeframe. We were actually up $1. So we're trading a little bit stronger out into the deferred months today.
He is Jacob Burks of agmarket.net with our market analysis today. Jacob, thank you so much. How can our viewers get in touch if they'd like more market information?
First thing we'd ask you, just go to our website, agmarket.net. Take a look at us there. Sign up for our 30-day free trial of our intel. From there, you can check us out on our team page there. If you want to get a hold of any of us individually, our numbers and emails are right there.
Jacob, thanks so much for the time. We'll look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
And that was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net with our closing market recap. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, and those numbers brought to us courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn up 1.5 at $6.44 even. January soybeans down 2.5 at $14.83 3/4. Soybean meal for January up $5.20 at $471.60. Soybean oil for January down $1.30 at $60.01. Chicago wheat down 12 even at $7.34 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 8 even at $9.01 1/2. Kansas hard red wheat down 11 3/4 at $8.33 even. March oats up 4 even at $3.34 even. On the Merc, live cattle for February up $1.62 at $155.55. Feeder cattle for January up 45 cents at $183.92. Lean hogs for February down 70 cents at 84 even. December pork cutout up 5 cents at 87.25, and Class 3 milk for December up 12 cents at 20.50. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will visit with Michael Dykes. He is president and CEO of the International Dairy Foods Association, and we will visit about the farm labor workforce shortage. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today, I speak with Michael Dykes. He is president and CEO of the International Dairy Foods Association, and we talk about whether the farm labor workforce shortage can be solved, or at least partly solved, before the end of the year, and whether or not the U.S. Senate can pass the Farm Workforce Modernization Act before the lame duck session of Congress ends at the conclusion of 2022. Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by International Dairy Foods Association President and CEO Michael Dykes. Michael, first of all, thank you for joining us here today. And could you tell us right now, what are you working on? Because it's a very important time for the IDFA right now.
It is. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. It is an important time for IDFA and our members. Our members process 90+% of the milk produced in this country. So workforce is a huge and very important issue for us. It's our number one issue facing our member companies. And as a matter of fact, Mark, I make the comment frequently that it's my view that workforce is the common denominator underlying our overall supply chain challenges. We just simply don't have enough workers. To me, it's a fairly straightforward issue. It's a simple math problem. We have a declining birth rate in the U.S. and across the developed world, and we have baby boomers, 10,000 per day turning 65. So we just don't have enough workers. We have 2 job openings for every person seeking employment. We got an unemployment rate at 3.7. At IDFA, our member companies, we have about 3.3 million jobs, and we have contribute about $42 billion in direct wages. So that's just the dairy processing. So all manufacturing sectors are experiencing the same thing. And on the farm production level, same thing. We have farmers that have crops that can't get harvested. And in the case of dairy, although we don't represent dairy farmers, the dairy farm organizations do that. But dairy cows are milked 7 days a week and year round. So we're not seasonal. So we need a workforce. We need a workforce, Mark, and we need Workforce Modernization Act passed. And our hope would be is that can happen during this lame duck session of Congress.
So, Michael, just to put it into simple terms, then you talk about this need for labor and that it's pretty much across the industry. But if let's say I make it good, bad, and ugly, how would the labor situation be right now then for dairy farmers? Is it in that ugly territory where they just absolutely need people working?
Yeah, they absolutely do. They need workers. Again, we have to have labor to be able to produce. The thing that I think is telling about this, Mark, is USDA is predicting that in 2023, we will import more food than we export. First time ever. So I think part of the underlying issue here is we have the productive capability. We have the best producers anywhere in the world, the most efficient producers anywhere in the world, but it takes labor. It takes a workforce, Mark.
Now, I know when it comes to issues like this that affect all parts of the ag industry, that it tends to bind everyone together and different producer groups and different commodities groups come together. Have you experienced that, Michael? Has it been everybody wanting to band together because a lot of people need workers right now?
You know, Mark, I would say you're exactly right. And I would say in the case of this issue, it has banded everyone together in food and agriculture, but it has banded everyone together across manufacturing. Because, Mark, it doesn't matter whether you're making cheese, whether you're milking cows, or whether you're growing soybeans and you're shipping soybeans down the Mississippi River. It's the same thing. Or whether you're growing fruit and vegetables and you got to get those harvested. It's the same thing. And it doesn't matter if you're food and agriculture, if you're making widgets and you're running manufacturing facilities, you need workers. You need workers in the pharmaceutical factories that are making medicines and drugs for people. We need truck drivers to move goods from one place to another place. It's also not just on the output, Mark. Our members need inputs. We need plastic. We need containers. We need pallets. We need inclusions for chocolate chips for ice cream and so forth. So the people we buy inputs from have the same workforce problems we do and not having enough workers to supply us in the products we need. So it's across the board, Mark.
And of course, we want to talk about the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. That has already passed the House of Representatives, and it's a bipartisan bill, so we know it has support on both sides. But could you tell us what that act would mean? What would it do to help allow more workers be available for dairy farmers and just the ag industry in general?
Well, it would simplify the H-2A process. It's a very complicated process today. It would simplify that. It would put in wage rates and address many of the issues around what are the various wage rates and how fast should wage rates go up. It would implement an e-verify system so that there'd be some certainty in the system about the legal status of folks. It would create a pathway for certified ag workers, and then also a pathway upon passing criminal checks and paying a fine to become a legal permanent resident. So there are many things that this act would kind of simplify, clarify, and enhance the number of visas available so that we could address some of these workforce challenges. It's passed the House twice, Mark, and on a bipartisan basis. We just need to help the Senate get across the 60 vote threshold.
So what has been the pushback? What has been the roadblocks that have kind of cropped up with the Senate? And where do you think you are right now as far as the prospects of this getting that 60 votes?
It's hard to know on the prospects because, as we talked about earlier, there's just so many competing interests for the waning few days of this Congress. We continue to push. Any issue that's been pending for the last 2 years, if it doesn't clear during this lame duck, they'll have to start over in the next Congress. So when you get down to the final 2 weeks of a Congress, you've got everything that's been pending for 2 years coming forward. So I think a lot of the challenges that we're encountering are the general concerns about immigration and addressing immigration, and the competing interests from so many other interests, with only a couple of major, for sure, things that we'll probably get through in this lame duck, one being the omnibus to fund the government. And will we put enough, make enough noise? Will there be enough interest on the part of the senators that this is an issue that needs to be addressed, that we can cross the hurdle? You know, having enough workforce to produce enough food becomes a food security issue, but it also becomes a national security issue. We have to be able to feed our people and have a product on the grocery shelves. Many of our members have had to go through optimizing the number of SKUs, so we can't have as many variations of a product in terms of package size, maybe different types of flavors and so forth. Minimize those so we can get more throughput. And we've even had some members have had to put customers on product allocation just because we just simply cannot satisfy the quantities at the times that they want them. So there are many aspects of this. Also affects our exports. How do we get the product to the rail? How we get the rail to the vessels? And how do we get on the vessels to get our dairy products into the export markets as well, which is a growing segment for dairy and holds a lot of promise for the future for dairy as well.
So we know that this bill has passed the House of Representatives. We know there's still work to do in the Senate, but has there been any research, any polling done with the public? How do they feel about this issue? And really just going back to what you just said, knowing that it does boil down to helping to produce that food that feeds our country.
Yeah. You know, we've done polling on this, Mark. About 82% of the voters believe that this needs to happen. And I think the reason why voters are of that view, Mark, is we've seen 40-year high inflations. We've seen food inflation. And when you go to issues that reduce the availability of food, naturally that increases the prices of food. So there's a real concern if we don't have the workforce, will that reduce supply and will that further increase prices of food inflation? So that is one. I think the other thing is too, voters see what's happening at the border. We need to address some of these issues. So hopefully this legislation would bring maybe the far right and the far left together that says, hey, let's put a process in place so that when these undocumented individuals arrive in the U.S., we have a process in place that at least we can employ them, and we can get some process in place that would make some kind of legal immigration into this country, because we need the workforce. So hopefully it would help address the concerns with workforce needs, simultaneously with addressing some of the concerns at the border and border security. So that's why we're pushing so hard to try to get something done during this lame duck session.
Now, I believe the IDFA has some things planned for next week as far as getting people to Washington to try and help advocate for this. What is that looking like for next week?
Week. We'll be in town for 2 days with our members. We'll be going to the Hill. Immigration reform will be one of our asks. We'll also have a press conference next week during that 2 days when we have our members in town. And we'll be doing a celebration of dairy where we will be inviting members of Congress, the staff, and many allied stakeholders in the food and ag sector to share in some of the delicious dairy products, cheese, eggnog, ice cream. And this year, we're going to have a new treat, butterboard, with some amazing different flavors of butter. It's a fairly new concept. So we're excited. We're excited to have our members in town, and we're going to be on the Hill making our point about the need to address workforce. Most of our members are 10 to 20% short in terms of workers. We desperately need some help on the workforce issue.
He is Michael Dykes, the International Dairy Foods Association President and CEO. Michael, thank you so much for the time joining us here today, and good luck with this process and trying to make sure that everyone has enough labor to produce that wonderful food that we all need.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
That was Michael Dykes, President and CEO of the International Dairy Foods Association. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, it's a very foggy, gloomy, overcast day here in Des Moines, and that's kind of been the story around most of the state today. Some other areas of the state did get some snow in extreme northwest Iowa, also some rainfall chances throughout the state of Iowa in some other portions of the state. And that's going to be kind of the story tomorrow as well, as it's going to be another partly cloudy to cloudy day that will burn off into some sunshine in parts of the state. Some other parts will have some rain chances, and temperatures cool, but not overly cold, especially for this point of the year. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what it has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, today it was foggy to start the day, showers and mostly cloudy throughout the state of Iowa. Some light rain chances in northeast and eastern Iowa, with highs today in the 33 to 41 range. Tonight, cloudy with patchy fog throughout the state, lows in the upper 20s to mid 30s. Tomorrow, cloudy, gradually becoming sunny in the western part of Iowa. Rain chances in the southeast and east. Temperature range from 34 to 45 for our highs on Saturday. Tomorrow, looking at our affiliate weather map around the state of Iowa. Cherokee, partly cloudy and 34. Shenandoah, partly cloudy and 45 on Saturday. Des Moines, partly cloudy and 44. Albia, mostly cloudy with light rain chances and 41. Waterloo, mostly cloudy with light rain chances and 39. And Clinton, mostly cloudy and 40 degrees. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. And that also brings us to the end of this episode of AMPM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content and previous episodes of this very show, AMPM, on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Also, click on the notification bell. That will let you know whenever we have any new content on our YouTube page. You will know about it, courtesy of that notification bell. And don't forget our free twice daily market podcast, which are found wherever you find your favorite podcast: Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.